I always tried to turn every disaster into an opportunity. John D. Rockefeller. Slack has seen an 89% increase in its stock price since its low in March. What was this rise fueled by? I have set aside $1,000 to invest, but will I invest into Slack? I recently shot a video on companies adopting Telecommute to deal with the pandemic and why I felt companies that enabled collaboration at a distance would greatly benefit now and into the future. It was eye-opening to say the least. This pandemic has affected every single person across the world, to include businesses. So how did Slack benefit, and could it be an opportunity to get in early? Ayo, I'm Sean McMurray, and this is my channel, Analytical Overdrive, where we talk finance, stocks, real estate investing, and cryptos. After looking further into Slack, I made a decision to invest, or not. Although it wasn't easy, it's a bit of a catch-22. The pandemic is the reason for the amazing growth of Slack's stock price, but could it also be its demise? Not to mention, Slack is still a new company and is not yet profitable. Can they weather the storm? And with strong competition from the likes of tech giant Microsoft and its product Microsoft Teams, how can they compete? I'll answer those questions in this video and let you decide on whether Slack is a buy for you. The pandemic, as bad as it was on our economy and the loss of life, was a blessing for Slack. As stated in my previous video, I go into great detail on why I think Telecommute will be the next economic revolution. Check out the link up here. The pandemic forced companies to adopt Telecommute and tools that enable collaboration at a distance. In fact, there has been a 600% increase in people's use of collaboration tools since we started working from home. Slack was amongst the winners in this category with the likes of Microsoft and Zoom, as companies struggled to continue business with their now largely remote workforce. Slack reported 12,000 net new customers versus 5,000 in each of the prior 2 quarters, and an increase of 49% of customers contributing $100,000 in annual recurring revenue. That translated to more than 90,000 people starting to use Slack in the first quarter, which represents a level of growth that is greater than all of 2019 for Slack. Those users increased their average use time from 90 minutes to 120 minutes per user. This all equated to a 50% increase in revenue in the first quarter. Slack CEO Stuart Butterfield had this to say in reference to the increase in users and customers. "We will realize the benefits of that over the next year and the year probably following," he said. So there is a very strong tailwind.
Whoop-de-doo! What does it all mean, Basil?
Essentially, as good as a year that Slack has had, we haven't even fully realized the benefits. Those 90,000 new users and 12,000 new customers can now be upsold. This is great news for Slack and investors holding Slack stock. But with states and cities opening back up, will this signify an end to Slack's growth? In fact, will this lead to a reduction in the gained customers as things go back to normal? Back to normal? We are living the new normal. Telecommute is here to stay, as is Slack and similar tools. Let me take it back a few steps in reference to normal. We are assuming that back to normal would indicate the pandemic is no longer a threat. Of the states that have begun to open back up, 21 have already seen significant increases in infections. In my state, Florida, we've seen 2 of the highest number of new cases since the beginning of the pandemic. Both of those days reported in the past couple of weeks since we've opened back up. 6 additional states have reported record-breaking increases in new infections, and again, in my home state, Miami-Dade has announced it will delay reopening due to the increase in infections. Will other states follow suit, and will things get worse as winter comes back around? Could this be that second wave doctors and scientists have been warning us about? Ladies and gentlemen, the pandemic is not over. That means a continued reliance on tools that enable collaboration at a distance, such as Slack. The second thing I want to address here, which I actually feel is the most important aspect we need to consider. I'll go over this quickly as I shot a full video on why I feel telecommute is the next economic revolution. You can see that here. When discussing back to normal, we have to realize what we are living today is the new normal. Companies were forced to adapt, and adapt they did. While doing so, they realized the benefits to a largely remote workforce. CEO/CIO of ARK Invest fund manager Kathy Wood, in an interview with MarketWatch, had this to say about the innovation of working remotely experienced in business, education, and healthcare. "I believe we have compressed 3 years of progress in terms of these new innovative platforms into 3 months. I don't believe the economy is going back." Mark Zuckerberg and Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey have both stated that working remotely for a large portion of their employees will be the new norm. For Mark, that's half of his 48,268 Facebook employees. So folks, we are living the new normal. There is no going back to anything. Telecommute is the new future, and tools that enable collaboration at a distance, such as Slack, will be a part of that future. This pandemic expedited growth and adoption for Slack. But even with that growth, they remain unprofitable. Why would anyone invest to a company like that? Slack isn't profitable, but this is not unheard of, and they are making moves to close the gap. Slack was founded in 2009 and only went public a year ago. Despite those facts, it still holds a $20 billion valuation as of June 2019. A $20 billion valuation without turning a profit. Quite frankly, being unprofitable for so long is not an unknown phenomenon. Some of the major companies you enjoy today have had similar beginnings. It took Facebook 5 years to turn a profit, ESPN 5 years, Amazon 9 years, and it took Tesla over 10 years to have its first profitable quarter. But Slack is making moves to close the gap and strengthen its position against rival Microsoft Teams. Early in the pandemic, Slack added IBM and Uber with its 388,000 combined employees as customers. Just this past week, Slack added Amazon and its 840,000 employees as they partnered to combat rival Microsoft. They have more than doubled research and development dollars, which we hope to see the benefit of in the next 3 to 5 years. In fact, they've provided guidance to cash flow break even at the high end in fiscal 2021. As you can see, though unprofitable, Slack is in it to win it and is not sitting on their hands. I always tried to turn every disaster into an opportunity. John D. Rockefeller. The pandemic, as bad as it was on the economy and loss of life, was actually a blessing for Slack. Demand for Slack services has been pulled forward by 3 months to 5 years. We are living the new normal. Tools that enable collaboration at a distance will be here to stay and be a huge part of our economy. Tools such as Slack. Though not profitable, continued partnerships and acquisitions of customers such as IBM, Uber, and Amazon will see that fact change. Acquisitions and partnerships expedited by the pandemic. Slack has already projected cash flow break even at the high end of fiscal 2021. Now, to the question, did I invest? Yes. I made my initial $1,000 investment into this stock as a part of my first Telecommute-inspired investment. A long position for me that has already seen an 8% return on investment with a huge potential for upside. A position that I'll incrementally add to over time. What do you all think? Am I off here? Do you think they will continue to benefit, or is this a temporary bump before going back to normal? Do you feel this is a good buy for you? Why or why not? Comment below and let me know what you think. Do your boy a favor and subscribe to the channel. Like the video and share it. Your support is truly appreciated. I'm Sean McMurray and this is my channel Analytical Overdrive. Ew ha!